24th of July this year, a company known as Tools for Humanity launched their World Coin operations the world over. They also did the same here in Kenya with a target to register as many Kenyans as possible using some of their most critical data, and this is your iris. The company continued with its operation for almost 2 weeks before the government suspended its operations until investigations around its operations were concluded. Tonight, on the scorecard, we revisit the World Coin Saga, and we just want to look at the issues of data privacy. Remember, for the last 4 shows, we've been talking about data and we have been telling you that data is the new oil. It is the new wealth. And so, today, millions of people around the world have registered with WorldCoin. From United States of America to France to even London in the UK. But the question is, what is WorldCoin going to do with the information that they have collected so far? Remember, your iris is only unique to you, and nobody else in the world has the same iris as yours. And so, it's a very critical data for you and for anybody else. And so that is the conversation that we are going to have tonight. Our team of experts are in the house. They're going, as usual, to help us in guiding and driving this conversation. And as usual, the show has never been complete without Marie Yambo, who is well known for driving data. And tonight, she's joining us here to help us put this conversation into the right perspective, statistically speaking. So, Marie Yambo, what numbers do you have for us?
Thank you so much, O'Brien, and thank you back at home for joining us. This is indeed the scorecard. And just as O'Brien has alluded to, well, data protection and cryptocurrency, that is what we are going to be discussing tonight. And now, before we even delve into what the data is all about, let's get to the basics. What is cryptocurrency? Well, this is virtual money that is in form of, coins and tokens, more or less like what we have, with M-Pesa. It's on digital platform, but the only difference with cryptocurrency is that, you have to sell your coins or your tokens to be able to withdraw that, or at least change it into Kenya shillings for that matter. Now, with the different types of cryptocurrencies, there's the WorldCoin, there's the Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, Tether, Ripple, Monero, Cardano, and even Litecoin. Now, O'Brien, I think the question we need to ask ourselves is, what value does cryptocurrency have? We saw the lines, the masses that went to register for the WorldCoin. So we did get some data in as far as the value of cryptocurrency is, and Bitcoin is actually having the highest value at 4 million. So for 1 Bitcoin is equivalent to 4.2 million Kenya shillings. So for instance, if you have like about 5 Bitcoins, you can do the math, that is about 20.8 million shillings. So 1 Bitcoin it actually makes you a millionaire here in Kenya. Ethereum is about 260,000 shillings, 989. That is 1 Ethereum is equivalent to 260,000 shillings, 981. The Binance coin is worth 34,000 shillings, 567, while the WorldCoin comes a distance 17 shillings and 30 cents. So that is the value of cryptocurrency, the different cryptocurrencies in the world, and that is in Kenya shillings. Well, WorldCoin in Kenya, over 4.5 million people already own cryptocurrencies, with over 350,000 Kenyans who signed up for the recent WorldCoin. So that is debatable. Our guests are here, and we'll be discussing those numbers with them. Now, for those who are registered, O'Brien, we are not very good at reading terms and conditions. You would agree with me on that. And sometimes probably it's deliberate because the prints are very small, but there is a catch. So for those who signed up for the WorldCoin, this is what you signed up for. It means that you cannot take WorldCoin to court. That is what it says. And in, a part of it, of the terms and conditions reads, you agree to resolve any disputes between you and WorldCoin through binding arbitration rather than in court. So that means you cannot take them, you cannot sue them in court for, to seek compensation. The other is WorldCoin tokens accrued do not amount to an investment advised, nor can they be guaranteed to appreciate. We will be getting to understand what that means with our guests. The software used for to create WorldCoin is open source and free for anyone to copy and use. So that means anyone can create a modified version of it. And last but not least, users provided their names, email addresses, phone numbers, which then can be, they can scan the contact lists and their locations, apart from just the scanning of their iris. So what does that portend for you? Does it mean that people in your contact list can also be, they can be able to be traced in terms of, their trends and all that? No refund or compensation in the event of digital token being stolen or, hacked. So, O'Brien, those are some of the issues that Kenyans probably will be grappling with. But before we get to talk about what we're discussing today, we have the question of the day. And that is, did you or someone you know register for the WorldCoin? And we'd like to you to share with us why you chose to register and what was your experience. So get tweeting, get to the Facebook. We'll be able to sample some of your views within this particular program. So O'Brien, I hand it over to you to introduce our guests.
Well, thank you very much, Mariambo, of course, for taking us through the numbers and, of course, for helping us understand some of the fine print in the consent form. Now, according to Tools for Humanity, this is the company that developed the WorldCoin. They rely on consent. So this is a contract between you and WorldCoin for them, giving them the approval to collect your biometric data. And when you look at the consent form, there are about 7,200 words. That's right. In that consent form, there are about 7,200 words that you're supposed to read and either decide whether to consent or to turn down the request. The question is, how many people have the time to read through that consent form? That is the first question. And then the second question is, how many people have a clear understanding of the jargons or the legal jargons used in that consent form? Yeah, because this document is not a document developed by just anybody in the streets. It's a document that is highly sophisticated with the input of highly trained expertise in legal matters. So those are the issues that we just want to discuss tonight. And of course, look at the issue of data privacy. What does the data laws in Kenya say about this? And are Kenyans protected when it comes to issues of data collection and, of course, the issues around the storage of data? Well, tonight, this is going to be our conversation. And, of course, we are in the company of our experts. This is none other than Professor Fred Ogola. He's a resident analyst, and of course, he's a governance expert. He's joining us tonight, as usual. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time.
Thank you, Brian.
Very good indeed. And next to Prof, we have Chris Otieno. He is a security and safety expert with expansive knowledge on matters data security as well as cyber security. We had him on Tuesday last week, and of course he's back on the set today to also help us navigate around this topic. Unfortunately today, we're not going to have Whitney Micheni for reasons that I'm going to explain to you. We didn't chase her away. We didn't lock the door out for her. She is out of the country. That's
yes,
right?
Yes, sure.
She's out of the country, and I saw her photos, and I can tell you for sure she's having fun, but she's going to miss the show tonight. So Whitney is coming back on Tuesday. Sawa.
Thank you.
I want to start with you, Prof. This issue of the World Coin and the fact that this company came to Kenya and they set up their base here in Nairobi, and not just in Nairobi, at the heart of the CBD, in one of the most iconic buildings in Kenya, at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. And for almost 2 weeks, thousands of Kenyans, were lining up to go and have their iris scanned by a company they do not know, by a company they have never heard about, and a company they do not know the background, but yet they were willing to do this or to take up this risk. What does this say about us as a society?
I think that, thank you very much, O'Brien, and our viewers. I think that that really should be a very big awakening call, but remember that this is not something new. History tends to repeat itself. There have been many other scams that have come from foreigners that just come and infiltrate in our country. But I'm sure that people go into what they have not really researched. If you go to some countries, there are some things that cannot even happen. And I think that the thing is just taking advantage of the fact that they knew that Kenyans can be bought. And this not only where they are being bought. Kenyans can be bought in anywhere, even to get a job. Kenyans can be bought to even for elections. There have been many issues like that. But I'm sure that what we are looking at here is that people did not know the repercussions. But also I think is that we need a lot of a national education and awareness, civil awareness. So I won't blame those people who went there, but I would think that there's a need for some awareness and more policies to be passed on before such a things take place, before anybody can be able to collect data. Are there policies that will be put in place? When that company came to register, they registered as what is their purpose of doing business. I'm sure that there must be more things to be done. Today I saw in the e-government paper that Ministry of ICT is among the best performing ministry. I'm sure that the issue of protection could be more to be done, but I can tell you, most likely is the issue of education and exploiting the vulnerability of people in terms of money. When someone tells you, and O'Brien, I can tell you this for free, when I used to campaign to become a member of Parliament of Kenya, when it comes to the time for people to line up to pick 100 shillings, you'll be surprised that even a head teacher, the most people will say line up. Money, I'm sure it betrayed Jesus.
Chris, help us understand this. Now that we are yet to get the official statistics about how many people had their iris scanned by the orbs that are owned by the World Coin, but needless to say, there were thousands of Kenyans, that lined up to have their iris scanned by these orbs. What can you do with this iris or with this data?
There's so much that you can do with the data. For example, if you listen to the tactics or the way they approach their market here in Kenya, you'll be left with so many questions. Number one question, they say that when they were launching, they launched in 2 African countries, Kenya being one. I don't know which one is the other one. What were the reasons for them to come and launch themselves here in Kenya? That aside, iris is a permanent identifier, individual biometrics, which creates a sphere that we call personhood, proof of personhood. Nobody else but me. If you are able to acquire that from me willingly, then we will say you have my consent. But if you acquire that from me using old tech market tactics, then we are saying there's some form of deception. And like you well put it, the concept 7,000 words, not many people want to look at 7,000 words, right, in what they do. So when you take that and lock it with a proof of personhood identifier like an iris, it means you have the whole of me. And the most challenging thing about that, the whole of me, is that once you have it, you can use it for whatever you want, and I'll never get it back. I've given it to you. Giving myself, like selling your soul out, because that belongs to only you. So whatever you put on that database for me and lock it with my iris, then that means you have everything of me in there, only me can unlock it, but since I've now given you the right to have what I can only unlock, then it means you can do anything with my data.
And the situation becomes scarier. I mean, when you discover that, or when you realize that, according to the consent form, you can't take WorldCoin to court, and you have agreed, or you do agree, that in case you have any disagreements between you and WorldCoin, that issue should be resolved outside the legal systems, yes, or what we refer to as the court. And so you agree to settle the matter using what we call alternative dispute mechanism.
ADR.
What is the implication of that, Prof?
In fact, if you look at all contracts, all MOUs, or any legal agreement, they usually say that they are according to the laws of Kenya. So I'm even wondering how special this was, that it was. I'm telling you, look at all that you've signed, even your job contract, even if it's just a tender contract, Chris, yes, there's always that mention that it must be in tandem with the Kenyan law, because that is supreme and the sovereignty of our country. I don't even know how people came to sign such a thing. But also just to look at for example, the damage that you are looking at here is that, you know that I saw, for example, in China is happening, where you go to a supermarket and you shop, and after you pick what you pick, you pass in one of the, I think there must be some places you pass, and your eye detects, it's connected to your bank account, the money get deducted, doors open, and you go away. You just open in, you come in, they detect your eyes, you come into the supermarket, pick whatever you want, your eye will scan what you have. As you move out, can you just imagine that your iris is connected to the things on the shop, connected to your bank account, connected to your passport, connected to your ID? All that is done, and actually I think Jack Ma actually was among the people who came up with this kind of innovation. So I'm just overwhelmed with how this can happen, but let me pray, and maybe let me pray, that the people whom they took their iris are not high net worth people, that they have more or less nothing to lose, and maybe their bank account balance is not very significant. But I can tell you,
but situations are not permanent. You
yes,
don't know where they're going to be in the next 5 years.
That's the thing.
They're likely to be maybe the next billionaire.
Yes. But of course now, what I'm asking, what is the remedy now? Actually for me, my main thing is that what is the government doing to remedy the situation? And I think that this can be an intervention by the state to seek some redress, because I'm sure that even there must be rules that governs internet, because internet is governed by body. There are rules that govern all what we call the personal data, and at the same time, if someone manipulates you using money, sometimes it's not allowed. And in fact, some deals which you enter, which is not in freedom, you can actually say, I wasn't free to take this decision, and therefore I want to move myself from it. For example, if someone comes again and said, oh, Brian, you must marry me, if not I shoot you, you take the oath, but marriage say, I didn't marry that person willingly, so I can withdraw the marriage, and you can be allowed. It's called annulment. So I'm sure there must be a legal way to disengage these people. Mm-hmm. We cannot say it can be addressed outside court, because if it's outside court, then what are the benefits? And at the same time, there was exchange of money. So if you are taking back your identity, are you refunding the money? So there must be this a transaction that took place, and we have to say, was this transaction honored? Was this money put somewhere? Were there circumstances in which way they can take the identity back? There must be some issues. I remember a country like Estonia, they have gone even to identify what's called as a digital person. So there was a law here which was being mooted on how can you be a digital person, recognized as a digital person. So for example, you don't have to appear somewhere in person, because there are some places if you go, you are told, oh, Brian, you must come here in person. After being a digital person, you don't have to appear in some places in person, because the digital person recognized. Maybe this is where Irish is going. And can you imagine where someone can say you are in the US, but actually you are here. But you are there, you're a digital person in the US and was able to do some things there. So even a crime can be committed on behalf as a digital person. So I'm saying that the question it asked, like I told you, technology has really advanced, And I believe this is the time when we agreed last week that we need to do a lot of education to people from very high school. There should even be a curriculum that tells people from from primary school, nursery school, so that people can be digitally educated. Because if you say don't interact with the ICT, you become ignorant, and you know that is more dangerous than just know, then don't use it knowingly.
Yeah, and also, questions are coming up, and soon we should be going back. We should be going to Parliament, because there was a heated debate in Parliament on Wednesday and Thursday, where members of Parliament were trying to find out how this company was allowed. Number one, who allowed this company to set up its base here in Kenya and start collecting data, and number two, they were also questioning: is this company registered in Kenya? Okay, was there enough vetting that was done to this company before it was given the license to set up their operations here in Kenya and start collecting data? But before we listen to members of Parliament, I also want to hear this from you. This company was offering what they're calling the World Coin, about 50 of them. And one was valued at about $2, so you would get something like 7,400 shillings. But now the question comes: this is a form of incentivization, whereby I'm giving you money, and remember, you're giving this money to the most vulnerable people, okay, in the streets. So would you really say that there was free consent here, or this was incentivized consent?
This was incentivized consent. And like I said, they used an old tech industry marketing practice, where I give you a free product, you allow me to mine data from you, use it, all right, and give a disclaimer of myself, so that in the event that there's a breach of this data, it's me and you to sell it outside of court. And these guys were smart. They selected a population. The professor here might say he wishes or prays that those guys don't have anything in their banks, but I am saying, even if he does not have something in his bank, right, there is a connection between that person who went to give out his iris and me as a Kenyan citizen. There is somewhere in the system that me and him are connected. And this is
I want you to hold your point there, because we should be coming back. But I want us first of all to listen to what members of Parliament were talking about. This was on Wednesday last week when this issue came out for discussion. Let's first of all listen in.
Data were being taken. Mr. Speaker, as much as we are talking of Shakahola, we will get another Shakahola in this one now. A Shakahola that we don't know, of young people who have no idea why they are being given money, who have no idea after they have received the money, the $65, you cannot withdraw, you cannot do anything with it, Mr. Speaker, yet already you have received.
In this day and age of artificial intelligence, it is possible that Kenyans will be barred from walking through some places. Probably next time you go to walk into a bank and your iris has been used for things that you do not know, and you are denied access. Probably next time you want to travel, you may find your passport, or rather your image, and your data has been used in criminal activities that you have no knowledge of. And even, Honorable Speaker, in this day and age of terrorism, Kenyans need to be cautious. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to use this opportunity to caution our young people, and not just young people, to caution Kenyans. Not everything that glitters is gold. And as difficult as circumstances around the economy may be, please don't rush for anything you hear that will give you an extra shilling.
I do not understand how a company, a private entity, entered our sovereign soil, started harvesting the data of our young people, exploiting the economic situation, promising them heaven. Most of the young people are just saying it's just a scan on my iris. So I go, I get scanned, and I get some Kenya shillings 7,000.
Well, those are some of the sentiments that came out for that came out during that conversation on Wednesday last week. We're expecting the number of ministers to appear before Parliament to respond to those questions by members of Parliament. But before then, we are trying to rethink this issue, and we're asking ourselves some very hard questions here as to what is the way forward now that this company came. It harvested a lot of data. We don't know how much at this point because we still do not know how many people lined up to register or to have their retina scanned by the OBS. But it is also proper to say that this company, is not just operating in Kenya. They are in New York. That is the United States. They are in London, in UK. They are in France. They are in some other multiple countries. And so now that they came, they saw, they collected, and they left. What do we do now?
First thing is to recognize the magnitude of risks that we exposed ourselves to. If we were to sample the population of those Kenyans whose biodata, whose biometrics were taken, and look at what sample population are we talking about? Are we talking about the young Kenyans? We're talking about the old Kenyans. If you're talking about the young Kenyans, then it means we have a much, much bigger problem that we need to understand very fast. Why? Because this is a population that's supposed to be tech savvy. These are populations that are supposed to be able to know that we are going into sophisticated artificial intelligence as the years go by. And as we go on, they also need to realize that such an organization has many assets in the form of crypto assets, all right? They are not regulated. This one is not regulated. Not the traditional banking or financial systems. They have no regulation, all right? Then whatever you do in that system is not reversible. And there's a possibility that your data could go public. So what are we saying here? Just like members of Parliament expressed themselves, I am in strict support that we don't know yet what will be the repercussion of this, but yes, we know the risks that we are exposed to, but the damage and magnitude that could come from this, being irreversible, maybe would even go very far in tainting the image of our own country.
Is it possible for a company to use that biodata to develop humanoids, robots, or to mess around using your iris?
Time and again, when you go into the internet and you try registering yourself, you will find a catcher asking you, are you a robot, are you a human being? Then you have to confirm, I am a human being. So what are we saying? This is sophisticated artificial intelligence, and it's very easy to extrapolate that data from data bank to another source or to another area and make use of it. So what do we know? Next time probably robots will be coming here using my voice because that data was extracted from me.
Maria, but you look very worried and shocked.
Of course, I'm listening to all this and I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the people who registered, even as we speak. So if I'm watching it, I'm really worried, like, what else could be coming my way? We are living in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, and just as Chris has said, and even Prof, that what is coming our way, we really do not know in terms of security and all that. So I have two questions, Chris. Number one, how do we reassure, the people who registered? Number one. In terms of, is there anything they can do, or is this something that now the government will have to come in, collectively? And then we are talking about World Coin having come into a sovereign nation, Kenya, for perform the operations and all that. Is there a gap in terms of our regulatory, framework in as far as cryptocurrency is concerned?
The first thing I would like to reassure all those Kenyans who registered is that whatever they gave out is irreversible. They need to know that so very clearly. Whatever data they gave out in terms of biometrics, in terms of biodata, and whatever was locked onto the biometrics they gave out, that now becomes completely irreversible. We can only leave it to our government, and we know that, yes, we have a Data Protection Act 2019, but that does not seem to have applied here. That is even more worrying. How did it not apply? Much later on, we got to hear from our leaders that the company was not even licensed. So we are seeing a lot of systematic breakdowns.
So then, okay, fine. So we can't really blame Kenyans, and especially that age group that is, jobless.
Yeah.
You know, you promised 7,000 shillings. So would I go for that? So there is a gap somewhere there where, you know, the government needs to come in and put some, you know, some stringent measures, if I may put.
Very good. Mariambo, I want you to hold it there because we are taking a short break and thereafter we'll be coming back with some vox pops of Kenyans and why they were motivated, you know, to go and have their retina or iris, you know, scanned by this company. So just hold on to your thoughts. We should be coming back with more. You're watching the Scorecard live from Broadcasting House. Our conversation tonight revolves around data privacy and data protection laws in Kenya, as well as cryptocurrency. And we are live. Keep on talking to us. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1, at O'Brien Kimani. Prof, you have a Twitter handle?
Yes. Ogola F. Ogola.
Ogola F?
Ogola.
Ogola F. Ogola. Otieno, do you have a?
At CWMO Otieno.
Oh, Lord Jesus. This is a tab. Eh? What about
Yes,
you?
at Mariambo.
Yes,
Yes.
those are our Twitter handles. Just keep on interacting with us. We're taking a short break and thereafter we'll be back.
Coming soon on KBC. What's in Your Kitchen? A show that celebrates Kenyan and African dishes.
Be careful. Yes, because I've seen some fire jump there.
That is called flambeing.
Flambeing. So tukiona moto moto tujue ni flambeing. Crushed methi seeds. Kila siku soma kitu mpya. Mchele yetu iko sawa. Hii iko sawa. Tumalize
Sasa ni kwenda tukule.
Napima.
Hii ni chakula mzuri sana.
Nzito kabisa.
Salivate this delicious meal on your screen while taking notes for the recipe. Don't miss What's in Your Kitchen, coming soon on KBC.
She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 352.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations. An immersive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, the true sports partner.
Live from Broadcasting House, Nairobi, Kenya. This is KBC English Service.
Welcome to Beat Time Show, the very best of the 80s and 90s. Me, John Korani, JK.
Timeless music hits across the decades.
This is the place to be after you've had a tough day. Join the Sundowner group on Facebook.
Just watch. The sound of KBC English Service.
I'm your host Caroline Wangeshi, Karo Gatata Moshero.
My name is Geoffrey Mongai.
News, information and entertainment. KBC English Service, Kenya's official national radio.
the last 2 weeks, major shopping malls and entertainment spots in Kenya have been abuzz with thousands of people queuing to have their iris scanned by World Coin at a cost of 7,000 shillings.
Huu ni muda ambao umepatikana kwa Kenya. Ni pesa za bure. Ingawaje ni pesa za bure, lakini kuna ule mwekezaji amewekeza. Na akiwekeza kuna biashara anataka tufanye.
Si kutaka Wakenya wanataka kuja kusimama hapa. Ni pesa hakuna.
Is actually real. There is no scam here. And I can say as a matter of fact, we are trading with real money.
Tunashangaa kwa nini serikali ifunge na mahali yenye watu wanapata pesa kidogo yenye inawasaidia, yenye wengi imewasaidia kimaisha.
Kwa sababu ya pesa, tamaa ya pesa iliposabu. Lakini hiyo kitu haujui inatoa maji na peleka wapi.
Questions are now being raised as to who authorized the activities of the company in the country after almost a month of operation. Following the immediate suspension by the government of operations of the World Coin in the country, the big question which lingers on the minds of many Kenyans is what measures or strategies is the government going to implement to ensure data safety of all its citizens online in this digital era. From Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Well, that's our reporter Mwoki there, who managed to talk to some Kenyans in the streets of Nairobi, and one of their answer was this, and this was like what you call the defining factor: poverty. All of them, they talked about money. We say that there is no dignity in poverty, but should poverty lead you to sell your birthright?
Yeah, I just told you, O'Brien, that money for some people can buy anything. And it didn't start with us. It started with the Bible. Esau sold his birthright to his brother Jacob when his stomach was empty. Mm-hmm. And he saw those people saying that something that could help you put bread on the table is being taken. Actually, they are blaming the government for having taken it away.
This is 7,000 shillings, honestly. It's not 1 million
But
shillings.
O'Brien, if you are dying of hunger today, what plans do you have? The poor do not have these long-term plans. I grew up in Kibera. We never had these long-term plans you're having, say, Vision 2030. We don't care. The thing is that what you care, no. When you are dying today, why are you caring about iris of your eyes, which can be used in Spain? What do you need your eyes for? And you're dying of hunger now. So I'm also just being interesting. And remember that this hunger, everybody has some hunger of some level. That's why even if you're telling me about whether the licenses were given, if they wanted it, they could buy it. From a minister, from a PS, from any director, you buy them. Everybody, these people have a price in the government. And I'm just trying to say that very openly because it happens in all levels. So what I'm trying to say, poverty is a big risk. In fact, what we need to do is that you saw poverty was declared as an enemy at independence, that they are enemies. Poverty, disease, and ignorance. And the same thing here. Ignorance and poverty is the main reason why we sold our iris to these people. So we need to work on it. At the same time, what is critical here is these people could not weigh the best cost-benefit analysis, and they don't see their potential. Maybe that young man standing there might find himself being a PS. So when you are a PS, then you discover your iris was already taken. It's a risk to the government because you can sign documents with your eyes because it has been taken. So you discover sometimes if we cannot be able to know how secure your digital, let's say biometric is, people come when before you apply for a job, they'll check whether you are, if you like, biometrics are secure so that they can employ you. This time will come. Artificial intelligence is such a crazy thing. And I've seen it even happening in schools. Like, for example, in the university nowadays, teaching a class is not the same way. Because you're teaching a student who has got you give an assignment to go and do homework. Homework can be done with ChatGPT. Everything has really transformed. So sometimes you wonder who has done this assignment. You listen to this person talking. However, find O'Brien, when you talk to some people, they don't sound very intelligent, but they forward you very intelligent messages. So what is the discrepancy here? So I'm trying to say again that the issue of poverty and ignorance should be fought at all costs. Then awareness. Then if you add there, it must be discipline from the topmost person, because now we are laughing at them. Don't we have intelligence in this country? How can people collect 250,000, let's say, iris before we discover? How could they collect that number and they're in KICC? I mean, incredibly, we saw this happening because people are being compromised. Somebody must have started investigating and know what they are looking for. Then you're given. It's just like when a dog is chasing you and you're having bones, what do you do? Throw a bone. The dog will go for the bone and you'll be safe. It happens.
We're going to check what Kenyans are saying in terms of, the question of the day that we asked them. If you did register, if they know somebody who registered for this WorldCoin. But, what bothers me, like you've said, by the time 250,000 or even up to 300,000 Kenyans are being scanned, where was our security agencies and all these things, But at the same time, I'm wondering, did WorldCoin see an opportunity?
Yeah, by the way, Mariambo, let me tell you one thing interesting. And this is something about interesting in Kenya. Statistics show that Kenya is becoming a hub of innovation. There's a positive part of it. For example, if you have the like of Google, IBM coming here, they believe that Kenya is a population that like testing. In fact, they say is where high adoption of new things takes place. I'm sure, Chris, you can confirm this. Much more even Nigeria. And the reason is that when you want to test a new concept to come here, can you remember the time people talked about the issue of Uber chopper, Uber chopper, where you can pick nyama choma in a chopper and pick and drop. It was a concept which a company wanted to apply in South Africa, but they brought here at a playbook to bring a concept which is not true, but just so Kenyans came with different comments and find a way how it can work. Then they picked the concept and implemented it in South Africa. Because we don't have money to pay for it, but Kenyans like trying new things. And I think that thing is a source of then. Secondly, remember that any serious financial institution that wants to set up in Africa begins in Kenya. I think we discussed this last time again. So the issue of adoption rate, then the issue also that we have a highly developed financial system as a country, as a country in Africa. Those could be ways in which we are making these guys look very attractive.
Yes. Maybe I want to add something here. We have only looked at the population or looked at the number that we are told the iris or biometrics were taken. We have not looked at the exit message that was given to us by WorldCoin when they were exiting. They said, we are going back to come up with a robust onboarding system that takes on crowd control. What is the meaning of that? It basically tells us the number of persons who came to register superseded their ability. So they came to a point and said, no, we have to stop, go back and reorganize ourselves. Further on, they went and said, we need to discuss with authorities the privacy measures that we have in our system. So that one tells you, from analysis, from analogy point, is that when they came to present the business prospect. Business prospect. Of course, these are the things they laid on the table. That even tells you that even at a high level, there is no proper understanding of data protection and how that applies at the ground. Those reasons.
Now that, so to speak, the cat is out of the bag, what remedial measures are we supposed to take? Because remember, in the consent form that people signed, there is a clause that says that once this data is collected, it cannot be deleted. Okay, it stops being your data, and it becomes the data of WorldCoin. And so it is up to WorldCoin to decide what they want to do with this information. So now that the cat is out of the bag, what do we do? Where do we go from here? Who do we call?
I think you have already answered the question by saying that, when we were in high school, there's what you talk about primary, what they talk about physical change and chemical change. And they said that the difference is that physical change can be reversed and a chemical change is reversible. I think that's what Senior has really said here, Chris, isn't it? Yes. That it is in the hands of those people. I can say this where prayer now applies. That they use it.
This is why we need to pray.
Yes, now they use it rightly. But nevertheless, I think, according to me, in a certain way, we can argue from the point of view that you have just tackled people who are vulnerable, and maybe WorldCoin can also have a lawsuit on which they can be told that this was not the right way to do business. Because what were they selling? What were these people selling to be given 7,000 shillings. Can you sell your whole personality for 7,000 shillings? I'm sure there must be some legal ways to do it, because of course this world, even if you go, for example, to Queen's Court, there are different ways on which you can still be able to sue and find a way how you can deal with the matter. I don't think that this is completely reversible, but for now, let's pray that we learn a lesson. At the same time, let us pray that for now, that there is not much they can do with it, because until the world become highly artificially intelligent, there's just a limit to which they can be able to use this data.
And of course, now you're saying that we need to rely on hope.
Yes.
Let's hope that
Which
they
is
won't
not
do
a
this.
strategy.
Let's hope that they will do something good. And you have always said that hope is a very bad strategy in business. So what lessons are we then supposed to pick out of these in a bid now to strengthen our data privacy regulations?
I think the biggest lesson for me is that this cybersecurity space has a lot of scams. So the best thing that we can do is to find the best way possible to take that message down to the grassroots so that everybody is able to understand the scams and how they're articulated or how they're implemented by these would-be people. After that, we need to also adapt prevention methods. And these methods will still count on the user. So item number one of capacity building becomes very, very critical. Before we go into protecting your computers, protecting your phones, ensuring there are no malwares there are no miners, there are no data mining apps in there, things like that. Yeah, a comprehensive cybersecurity protection would be something very nice. But at the base of it, the foundation, the most critical pillar is that capacity. But now,
building.
The most interesting thing, when you look at the fellow Kenyans who are speaking on television, they are the young Kenyans who we expect to be really tech savvy. That tilts me a bit and leaves me wondering.
They're the most vulnerable.
They're the most vulnerable here.
And there is something that Prof brought out here, which I mean, we need to figure out how we are going to deal with this in the future, because the young people that we saw lining up in the streets are going to be the policymakers in 10, 5, 15 years to come. They're going to be the cabinet secretaries. They're going to be principal secretaries. They're going to be, the who is who in this country. And who knows where technology will go from here. Maybe at some point, it will be possible for you to control something using your iris.
Yes.
Okay? Look, and you are talking about this, and I have seen this, it happens in China, whereby you can pay, at the pay point, in a supermarket, by just scanning your iris, in a machine, and it's just going to connect to your bank, and you're going to be, debited, and you're going to pay for everything. You can do the same you can board a bus. The doors will just open just by looking at a screen, and it scans your eyes, and it will tell you that you have paid for the ticket. So we do not really know what is going to happen in the future and where technology is going to take us. And so when you put all things into consideration, then the situation becomes very worrying, Prof.
It is, because I saw another very funny movie, let's say a clip on TikTok, where there's somebody was having his husband, they were somewhere, then the husband was put on glasses, let's say shades, and she's trying to put the phone on his eyes to be able to get his phone open, thinking the husband is sleeping. Then the husband removes glasses and says, "What's wrong with you?" Which means that even now, with my phone, I don't have to use my password.
You can actually open your phone.
Eyes, using my eyes. So what if now, for example, I've sold my iris, isn't it? What else can they access? I'm telling you, we are like at sea. We don't know the depth and the breadth.
Let's now go to Marie Ambo. She's on standby on the scoreboard. She's going to take us through the comments of Kenyans, and let's now get to hear what they are talking about. Marie.
Indeed, O'Brien. Remember, the question was that did you or someone you know registered for the World Coin, and what was your experience? And so Kim Tai Yagon on Facebook says, yes, our friend just earned his weekly salary today of 3,000 shillings. So for some people it's working and they're not scared. Remember, you've seen very many, talks on social media of how people are getting affected. Whether true or not, I do not know. Jay Brown says, yeah, my friend has already joined and he's enjoying the money. I think this WorldCoin is not that bad. So that is Jay Brown. Samuel Kabiru says, I'm trading right now, nangoja ipande niuze hizo 10 coins. So, O'Brien, to some extent, Kenyans, some of them feel like it's a good thing, Yeah. So we'll be sampling more of your reactions to this. Remember, the question is, did you or someone you know registered for the WorldCoin, and what was their experience? So, yeah.
There's even also, a response here from a man calling himself at Tonei on Twitter, and you're saying, why did the government suspend the operations of WorldCoin? I was hoping to register my IRIS this week.
I think the guys who are responding are guys who have seen some benefits. We have not heard from guys who have not received what those who are commenting have received.
And what would you suspect to be some down risks, for example, at this point?
I think when you go into cryptocurrency, you go there with one bad strategy that you say hope, yeah, is that I can trade and not lose my investment. All right, the guys we have had speak, the investment have come what they've come. We don't know if that is true or not true, yeah, but we know that there will be losses.
There will be losses.
There will be losses.
No.
There will be losses, huge losses. Utasikia kusema serikali saidia.
But actually it happened in South Africa. The cryptocurrency, the Bitcoin in South Africa, there have been so many scams. But I'm also looking at a situation whereby you'll find that when you go apply for a job, you'll be asked whether you ever registered your IRIS. You might find such a situation. Or you want to marry somebody, you might be considering that if that somebody you are marrying register their IRIS, it becomes a family risk. It might go there. Like even, for example, when you're checking luggage, you come and ask, do you have an electronic luggage? The airline asks this question. So I'm sure there might be some people now trying to find a way to mitigate.
So in the bank,
if you register, for example, you want to become a bank employee, they might ask, can you please let us know if you registered your IRIS? Because time will come when some of this becomes critical.
Very good.
As a medical doctor at the same time. So there might be, as a lawyer, do you want to deal with a lawyer who has their IRIS already taken?
Very well.
Is it not risky?
Because I can see now it's already 11 o'clock and we're almost winding up. Time now to ask our two questions for scorecarding. The first question, and I'm shooting this to Chris. How do you rate the government's response to the WorldCoin issue?
The government's response was reactive instead of being proactive. So on a scale of 5, I would say 1 or 0.9.
1 or 0.9.
1 or 0.9.
Wow, that is the lowest scores I've ever registered on this program. So I don't know whether it's very fair for you, but 1 or 0.9 points, that's very low. What about you, Prof?
I think for a different reason. Partly for reactiveness, but also the government has not told the people who are affected what's the way forward. Because the fact that the government has come in to send these people away, it shows they have seen a risk. But they haven't told them, so what? There must be, first of all, the reaction, and there must be remedy. What's the remedy for these people? And for that matter, I would just give 1.
You also give 1?
Yeah.
Very good. Then we go to the second questions. Are Kenyans empowered enough to understand data privacy, Chris?
I don't think we've reached the capacity where we can judge and say, yes, we are good. So on that, I would also go really low. I would say 2.
2?
Yes.
You give it 2?
I give it a 2.
Very good. What about Prof?
I'll look at it differently, Chris, because if I look at it in relative terms, if we just say Kenyans, like absolute terms, you might actually give 1 or 2. But relatively, go to Uganda, go to Somalia, go to South Sudan or something like that. You might find that Kenyans are doing much better. For example, in DRC, if you compare. I think that Kenyans might do around three because they are. You saw somebody spoke there very intelligently by saying you don't know the implication. So I would give them a 3 relatively.
You give it a 3.
Yes.
I want to give you 30 seconds each before we go to Marie for sampling of more responses. So what is your advice to Kenyans and the government at this point?
First of all, my advice goes to the government because we need intelligence and the government need to invest a lot in education because I told you, technology is not something we're born with. Some of us were born before internet. So a lot of technology education is needed. But to my dear Kenyans, I would say that everything that glitters is not gold.
Borrowing from Kimani Ichung'wah,
yes,
the leader of majority in party in the National Assembly.
My advice to my government and our government is that our government has the capacity. It has all pillars to nab such occurrences right from the start. Of course, I know every human has a price, but I know that there's something that can be done because of multiplicity and segregation of duties within our government. This kind of things can be stopped, and we should really go flat out to make sure that the sovereignty of our country at any time we find that it's been dissolved by anything of this nature. Right. Then I'd say the same thing Professor said. We need to educate and pass more and more capacity building down to our Wananchi so that we make sure that our first line of defense, who is Mwananchi, is well endowed with the capacity and ability to be able to know that these are scams and to be able to act right to ensure that we don't end up in this kind of situation that we are in, where we have to judge and confuse ourselves in our judgment. Are we good or are we not good?
And just to add something, those who did not give their iris should not celebrate that they are safe because in this one, no one is safe until all of us are safe.
We are in it together.
Yes.
Very good. Marie Ambo, do you want to take us through more responses?
Indeed, O'Brien, we have quite a number of responses, but I'll just pick a few. Ali Bai on Facebook say, yes, I registered and I sold my coin at 7,356. Julius Nyerere says, myself, I enjoyed the 7,000 shillings. Adama Vincent says, I'm here and I'm okay, which means he did register. He doesn't see any problem and he's enjoying his money. So those are just some of the sentiments that Kenyans have actually shared with us. So thank you so much once again back at home for joining us this evening and staying the course of the program. We hope to see you again next week. My name is Marie Ambo. O'Brien, it's back to you.
Very good indeed. The most intelligent conversation is almost coming to a close this evening. Thank you very much indeed for your company, for your input and for your thoughts. My name is O'Brien Kimari. On behalf of Chris and Professor, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and we look forward for another fruitful engagement on Tuesday next week. Thank you very much. From me and the rest of the Scorecard team, have yourself a good night. We'll meet again on Tuesday, same time right here on KBC Channel 1. Until then, have yourself a good night.